Okay, in this video, we're going to talk a little bit about how you can compute the mean, the median, and the standard deviation from frequency tables. So these tables where you've just got the values and the frequencies, right? So remember, this is the number of times that the data point appeared. So if we had this data set written out, it would have 3 zeros, 2 ones, 4 twos, right, and so on and so forth. So if you've got something like this, instead of having all the data points written out, how can you find the mean and the standard deviation? Okay? And one option is you could actually just go through and write out all the data points. Now there are 5, 9, 15, 23, 28, 31 values here. So, yeah, 31 values here. And so writing all of those out would take you a lot of time. Doing all the calculations would take you a lot of time. But it's nice because there's actually an easier way to do it. Okay? So if you think about it, first for taking the mean. Okay? So let's do the mean first, because we need that one for the standard deviation. And it's actually kind of the easiest to understand. So for the mean, how can we figure out what this is? Well, we'd want to add up all the individual values. So if there's 3 zeros, you would want to take 0 plus 0 plus 0. Okay? But we know you can write instead of 0 plus 0 plus 0 3 times, that's 3 times that 0. Okay? Similarly, you would want to do 1 plus 1 because there are 2 ones, but that's 2 times 1. Okay? Similarly, you can take 4 times 2, and I'm going to end up on multiple lines so that I don't run over too far. 6 times 3 plus 8 times 4 plus 5 times 5 plus 3 times 6, and get the sum of all the different values, right? So that's going to be the sum of all the different data values total, okay? So 2, 10, 28, 60, 85, 103, I think is correct. Let me add those up again. 0, 2, plus 8 is 10, plus 18 is 28, plus 32 is 60, plus 25 is 85, plus 18 is 103. Yep, okay? So 103 is the total of all these values. There are 31 total, which you can get by adding up all these frequencies. And so your mean is going to be 103 divided by 31. Okay? So you don't actually have to write them all out to get that. You can just go ahead and do the calculation, right? So 103 divided by 31. Okay? And 103 divided by 31 gives us a mean of 3.32. Okay? And so you can see that kind of makes sense, right? 3.32 would kind of be right around the middle of all the data, a little bit further toward the end, but there are more values down toward the end. Okay? So we get a mean of 3.32. And I'm going to write that down here. Okay? So mean is 3.32. How can we find the median? So the median is the middle value. And so what you can do, one way to do it, just straight from the frequencies. So if there are 31 total, right? The median is going to be the 16th value, right? Because there's going to be 15 before, 15 after, and then that 1 in the center, right? 31 divided by 2 is 15 and a half. So the 16th value is the middle one. And so we could add these up, right? So we could do 3 plus 2 is 5. So this is what's called the cumulative frequency. So up to this point it's 3. 3 plus 2 gives us 5. 5 plus 4 gives us 9. 9 plus 6 gives us 15. So by the time we get to 3, so the last 3 in our list would be the 15th value, and then the 16th value is going to be a 4. Okay? So if we wrote these all out, we'd have 0, 0, 0, 2, 2, or 1, 1, 2, 2, 2, 2, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, and that would get us up to 15. The 16th value would be a 4. Okay? And so our median is equal to 4. Okay? And so you can kind of count them up as you go along. You could do the same thing with relative frequencies and count up cumulative relative frequencies. And I think that actually, in a way, if you do the relative frequencies and then add those up, it'll be once you pass 50%. Whenever you pass 50%, then, which you would do here at 4, that's going to be your median. Okay, so that's another way to do it just from that. But you can just count up the frequencies, figure out where you need to be for your median, and then count until you pass that number, right? So at this point, we're at 15. When we get to 4, we jump up to 23, and so we've passed 16, so we're past that. Okay, so that's going to be your median. If there is no center and it falls in between 2 of them, then you average those 2 closest ones. Okay, so our median is 4. Let's do standard deviation, which is the hardest of these. So standard deviation we're going to do in a similar way to what we did with when we just had regular values combined with what we did with the mean. So we're going to compute those value minus mean, right? So remember, for each value, we took it, we subtracted the mean, and then we squared it, okay? And then we added all of those up, divided by n, by the number of data points, and then took the square root, okay? So those were our steps. So we can do the value minus mean squared for each of these. So taking our mean of 3.32, we can take, for example, 0 minus 3.32 and square it. Gives us 11.04. So that's 0 minus 3.32 squared. For 1, we get 5.39. For 4, 1.7, or for 2, 1.75. For 3.10. For 4, 0.46. For 5, 2.81. And for 6, 7.17. So for each of these, what we're doing is we're just taking the value. So for example, to get this one, we would take 4 minus 3.32, and we would square it. Okay? So 4 minus 3.32 squared is 0.46. This one is 5 minus 3.32 squared, 6 minus 3.32 squared, etc. Okay? So once we've got those values, just like we did with the mean, we're going to multiply each of them times the frequency and add them up. So we're going to take this one times 3, this one times 2, this one times 4, this one times 6, this one times 8, this one times 5, and this one times 3. Add all of those values up, which is a lot of work and takes a lot of effort. So let's see, we can go through and do each of these. I thought I had all this written down, but I don't actually. So 11.04 times 3 plus 5.39 times 2 plus 1.75 times 4 plus 0.1 times 6 plus 0.46 times 8 plus 2.81 times 5 plus 7.17 times 3. So all of that adds up to 90.74. Okay? So remember, we added up all of the values. We took value minus mean, we squared it, we added them all up, we divide by the number of data points. So we're going to take 90.74 and divide by 31. We get 2.93, and then the standard deviation is the square root of 2.93. So 1.71. Okay? So this is a fairly complicated process, but the steps are the same as what we did before. We take value minus mean, we square it, right? So that gets us something like 11.04. We're going to multiply that times the frequency, just like we did with the mean, because we want to count this one 3 times, this one twice, this one 4 times, this one 6 times, right? Add all those up, divide by the number of data points, 31, and then we take the square root, okay? And so we get our standard deviation is 1.71, okay? So finding these values from a frequency table is more complicated. It's taking the same steps but accounting for these different frequencies, okay? In our last video, which should be a short one, we're going to talk about using standard deviation to compare data sets.